Well, good evening and welcome to Quartic Training. Tonight, what we're going to be doing is going through a little bit of three topics: financial reporting and analysis, equity and fixed income. Those of you who have already started, my apologies, but this is aiming at a fairly beginner's level. So I'm assuming, for the purpose of this evening, zero background knowledge. If you do understand a lot of accounting, you may find it sort of interesting how we teach accounting, even though hopefully most of it will be familiar to you. And I'm sure we'll come up with some new concepts in the second half of the evening that are new to you. The exam is a big program. We've already talked through a lot of this beforehand. The exam itself is 6 hours long, 9 to 12, 2 to 5. Multiple choice, selected response is the official term. This means you've got 90 seconds for each exam question. Each question has a three-part answer, A, B, C, and your objective is to work out which two are wrong and which one is right. But they're always written in such a way that they could all be feasible. So they're very carefully written. The fact that they went recently from 4 parts to 3 parts does not make your life any easier at all, because it simply means the hurdle pass mark is a little bit higher. Lots of analysis, few calculations. Just to give you a very advanced warning, the feedback we get from candidates coming out of the exam is there were far fewer calculations than they were expecting. To be honest, strong candidates come out saying there were maybe 1 in 6 questions that required the calculator. Weaker candidates say roughly 1 in 3 questions required a calculator. Was this the same exam they did? Answer, yes. But a stronger candidate is going to look at the meaning of a question. Very simple example. There could be a question that says, what is the value of a particular asset? And they give you 3 answers. A weak candidate will reach for the calculator and see if there's enough information to calculate it. A strong candidate will say, well, I know it's bigger than this, therefore it's got to be answer A. And that's it. That's how you're supposed to do this question. So look broadly, and it's a tough exam, but if you are well prepared, then you can see the shortcuts and you can see many questions can be answered with just a few seconds of thought. The curriculum is broken down into 4 groups of topics, 10 topics, 18 study sessions, more than 70 readings, chapters, and 482 learning outcome statements, LOSs. So depending how you cut the curriculum up, every topic is covered, but obviously not every learning outcome statement, because there are far more learning outcome statements than questions. The pass mark, I could try and describe this in detail, but it won't necessarily give you any more understanding. You need to aim at roughly 70%. Maybe high 60s, but they have stated that no candidate who's achieved 70 has ever been failed. If you get 70 across the board, you don't need to get 70 in each subject, but you need to average 70, then you'll get through. So how to study? It says 250, that is a minimum. We tend to say 300. And you need to set out a timetable and study steadily over the weeks. If you're looking to do the June exam, obviously you need to be studying every evening and every weekend now, unless you've done a huge amount of work already. If you're looking to the December exam, you can take a more measured approach. But do start on the assumption it's going to take at least 300 hours outside class. And then, as I said before, if you feel that you're making very good progress, then you won't need to spend quite as many hours. On the other hand, you may feel you want to spend a bit more time than what we recommend if it takes that time to give you that depth of understanding. So read ahead of class, lots of question practice. This is a brief outline of the curriculum. As I said, there are 4 groups of topics: tools and inputs, asset valuation, portfolio management, and ethics. Very briefly, before we launch into the first of them, within the tools and inputs, which is half of the level 1 curriculum, if you think within the tools and inputs, we've got financial reporting, which we're going to be looking at first thing this evening. We are analyzing balance sheet, income statement, statement of cash flows. The annual report of a company is the first place to look if we want to understand what a company is doing. We have a cupboard full of annual reports because, hey, we collect them because they're fun. And understanding the accounts is essential in knowing what a business is doing. Companies will often create these accounts and try and hide certain things. We've seen enough scandals going on. Enron being one of the more famous ones, Lehman's being one of the more recent ones. And trying to understand what's going on behind the numbers is essential. If you like, we're learning how to uncook the books. We're learning how to get behind the numbers. We're learning a lot of the accounting rules for the opposite reason to the accountants. The accountants are putting the accounts together. We, as analysts, are pulling them apart. Corporate finance, 8% of the curriculum. So this is, you'll get mostly looking at where capital comes from and where capital is applied to. Where capital being long-term funding. You've got money from shareholders, from the lenders, from past year's profits. And to work out where it goes to, we're analysing projects, looking at and analysing cash flows of projects. So those two topics make up most of corporate finance. Quantitative methods, 12%, starts off with time value of money. We prefer $100 today to $100 in a year's time because we can spend it. Because we can invest it, we can put it into bonds, into shares, we can do whatever we want with it, but we have more things to do with it today than we would be able to if we have to wait a year. And then economics, 10% micro and macro. Microeconomics is how individuals and how individual companies operate, how individuals choose where to spend their hard-earned money, and how companies can maximize their profits depending on the competitive environment. And then macro is the whole environment of how we all operate together, in particular how government policy, for example, the budget, is going to affect corporate strategy and tax rates and interest rates and things like that. So they're the tools and inputs. The second step in the investment process, if we think of this as a three-step process, step one is doing the analysis, the tools and inputs. Step two is the asset valuation. Equity, we're valuing company shares. Fixed income, we're valuing company and government bonds. We'll talk about those a little bit more later this evening. Derivatives is forwards and futures and options and swaps. So quite complex, but only 5% at level 1. And alternatives is a brief introduction for just 8 odd questions on professional fund management, real estate, commodities, hedge funds, venture capital, and so on. So lots of little introductions. And that's the asset valuation. So step one, we've done the analysis. Step two, we've used that analysis to value investments. Step three, use the valuation to put everything into a portfolio. And although portfolio management is just a very small section at level 1, it grows into being most of the curriculum at level 3. So these 3 steps, steps 1, 2, and 3, also take us through the 3 steps of the CFA curriculum. Level 2 focuses on asset valuation. Level 3 focuses on portfolio management. And underlying all 3 levels and all 3 steps are, of course, the ethical standards. And this is what CFA Institute is very proud of. When they advertise, they do quite a lot of advertising, it's not the fact that we know 20 different ways of valuing shares that they're putting in these ads. It's the fact that, unlike any other finance professional, all candidates and members of the Institute and CFA charter holders have signed up to the Code of Ethics and Standards of Professional Conduct, on which you're going to be examined 3 times. And by complying with those standards, it means we are knowingly treating our clients as well as we possibly can and putting the needs of our clients above the needs of our employers and ourselves. So that is the curriculum, and there's a graphic version of it. But let's have a look at financial reporting and analysis. In the accounts, we have got a number of key statements. If you take a company report, it can be 200 pages long. HSBC was so big that the postman was told not to deliver it. I think it was more than 500 pages.
Unfortunately, we've reached the limit of what we're allowed to load onto YouTube. If you'd like to see the rest of this video, then please visit our website. If you'd like any more information, then you'll find lots of details of the courses that we run on our website, which you can see down the bottom of the slide, quartic-training.co.uk. If you'd like to go to the links page on our website, you'll see a website where you can watch this tutorial again, or where you can download the slides. If you'd like to speak to us about anything further, then please don't hesitate to contact us. All the details are on the screen in front of you. Quartic Training, invest in your future.